The McShin Foundation is Virginia's leading peer-to-peer recovery community organization. So if you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, let us get you connected. Build your self-esteem and lead you to a solid foundation in your recovery. Check us out.
I'd hoped to be standing before you today telling you about my success story, Charles. But 2 years ago, that dream, in addition to all the other hopes and dreams I had for my struggling young child, ended when we got the news he killed himself. Nothing prepares you for that kind of news. You can think about it, you can think, oh, it's going to happen, but you're never, ever prepared. Charles was the funniest, most popular kid in school. He was an emerging rap artist. He was a comedian, and he was a creative genius. He also struggled in high school with depression and suicidal thoughts, and we didn't know it. And when it hit him, he was a teenager. He had no idea what this was. He had no idea when he started thinking about suicide. And he would get in these moments of depression. The funniest kid in school, how can that happen? So in the last 6 months of his life, he was 20 when he died. He got addicted to heroin, and while he was going through withdrawal, he took his own life. And again, nothing ever prepares you for that. But what didn't prepare me for that was that I did know about, by the time he was 18, that he suffered from depression. But nobody talked about the relationship between mental illness, suicide, and addiction. It is so common, yet we never mention it. So it was never on my radar. I'm thinking the whole time he's out there, God knows where, that he's going to hit rock bottom and he's going to come back to us. But I was expecting a rational response from somebody in an irrational state of mind. So after he died, nobody was talking about it, because we all know the amount of shame and silence that surrounds addiction and mental illness. So one of the first things I did is I wrote that article in Richmond Times-Dispatch, honoring my son that died by suicide is not the end of my story. And I told that story. And I talked about addiction and mental illness. But you know what else I talked about? I talked about my boy. I painted him as a human being, not a statistic. He just wasn't yet another kid who was out there partying. This child struggled. I didn't think anybody would ever read it, but it did become the #1 article for that year. And the reason it did was because other people saw their story in mine. At the original location at Richmond Times-Dispatch, there were 2,000-3,000 comments. That could have been my mom. That could have been my brother. That could have been my son or my daughter. Well, that's when I was like, I got to keep doing this. I can't stop. So I started a blog called Emotionally Naked. And originally I started it because, I was trying to deal with the most devastating loss of my life, and I had realized that writing was helping me. So it's about a year after he died, about 3 months after I started the blog, and I write a post called The Final 48 Hours. And it basically says how we got the news, how we reacted. It's raw, it's from here. And when I published it, I was embarrassed and ashamed because I was exposing everybody to my ugly, naked mama grief. And it is raw. And I didn't share it on Facebook, and I share everything on Facebook. But I had subscribers, and they shared it on Facebook. And I reached out to the ones that shared it, and I said, thank you for doing that. I had that feeling of validation. So just the next day, 16,000 people read that post. And I still couldn't figure out why I wrote it, and what's more, I didn't understand why people were reading it. And then I get a message from a girl named Lauren, and she says, 2 days ago, I thought about killing myself, but based on what I read here, I'm going to get help. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, maybe this can work. So I let it kind of go in a different direction. I know my son looked up the phrase, how to hang yourself. And I wonder how many other people Google that phrase. So I wrote a post, how to hang yourself. And of course, I don't tell people how to do that. It's got the suicide hotline, and it's got 2 videos from my son. And both those videos are ones that people have told me, people who have been, in addiction, suffering from withdrawal, suicidal ideation, or depression, and they've told me those videos help them. So that's what I put on the page. And my whole purpose was to be able to rank #1 on Google for that phrase, or at least the first page. And I have accomplished getting to the first page. I'm number 10. In the last 30 days, 445 people have been to that page. And I'm going to tell you, 90% of the people go to that page and they go right back out because it doesn't tell them what they want to do. But that leaves 8 to 10% who don't leave, who stay for a few minutes, some for a few hours, and then some for days. Oh my gosh. So I get letters and I get messages, and I got a comment not too long ago, and I'm going to paraphrase this. I've been reading this blog since last Sunday when I came across it, Googling how to hang yourself. I watched the video of Charles, and it gave me goosebumps. The post here made me cry for 4 hours straight. I personally struggle with anxiety and depression and addiction, and I've been off heroin since 2014. I have 2 young kids, but sometimes I'm ashamed to say, not even they can keep the darkness from haunting me. Today I'm okay enough to try and fight another day, to comment here and let you know that you made an impact on someone. I think this place is special, like your boy. Oh my gosh, he had 2 kids. And he didn't kill himself based on what he read. And it's not what I wrote, it's the fact that you all are sharing it. And we're creating a village of love and compassion. We're not going to beat this opiate epidemic with money alone, not with programs alone. We need to create a community of understanding and love and compassion, exactly like the culture you're helping me create on Emotionally Naked in memory of my son, Charles. I am so grateful for you for that. Thank you so much.